So creative process is difficult to capture in the moment when it comes unexpectedly. When you're in the state of flow, you don't really want to break that flow by introducing cameras and microphones and stuff like that. Of course, you can manufacture it in some ways. You can recreate it, but it doesn't really. It's not authentic anymore, I feel like. So with this song, what I wanted to share here and kind of capture is the fact that it came from a feeling. It didn't come from as a form of an exercise or a practice. It just was sort of a sensation that I had, and I wanted to sort of capture that in a song. And the sensation that I had, and I've been feeling for a little while, was the fact that people are playing certain characters and roles in most of their social interactions, whether they're professional or casual. And I guess the song acts as an encouragement for myself to stay transparent and vulnerable around people, even when I'm not getting the same back in return, even though I'm facing with people in their characters or their sort of, I guess you can call it social masks and stuff. And obviously I'm not claiming that I am 100% all the time pure in my existence, and I play certain social roles, take on certain I behave in certain ways that are potentially expected of me in certain situations. But generally speaking, the way I've kind of perceived the world is through that sort of maybe a little bit naive, but also pure and honest and transparent lens. That probably goes against me in the real world situations, but what can you do? So since I was following the message of the song, it avoids certain aspects of what we think a song should have. For instance, structure. I'm not following necessarily a very strict verse, chorus, bridge, chorus type of format. Kind of the way I like to think of it is A B and A B. But if you look at my project, I start with a little intro, and then I have an A, which I guess you could consider as a verse, and then I have a B, but I would not call that a chorus. It's a bit of a lift, but it's not a chorus in that way. I guess it's further development of the section A, which leads us back to section A before we go back to B. And this tiny B here is actually a break, not another B. Before we go back to the allowed outro or a C section, I guess, which is the big section in the song, but it's not repeating itself, or it's not coming back anywhere else in the song. So it's the outro, it's the end of the song, but it's the climatic ending. So in terms of the actual parts, I wanted to capture just a few elements here just to kind of share. So guitars, very, very simple. It was sort of in the moment, and I didn't filter those ideas out. I just kind of went with whatever came initially and kind of stuck with the initial idea. So this is the actual part. Just one layer, not double tracked. Then for the B section, we go a little bit more dramatic with a bit of a drop in change of the chords, I guess. You can hear, I guess, like I went for like a darker versions of these chords. I could have gone for like brighter strings and stuff like that, but I wanted to capture a bit of that darkness. And then we go back to A, which has another layer then added. I call it guitar harmony. It's not necessarily a harmony, just sort of a top part. So very simple, very loose. Both parts are very loose. They're not necessarily perfectly perfectly tracked to the grid. They're sort of a bit loose, and I kind of like that about them because I guess it tracks with the vulnerability theme. And then we adding another guitar on top of that, just to kind of thicken things up a little bit. So this is what that would sound like. So that's way more distorted, way more strummy to add a bit more movement. Now, in terms of the drums, let's have a look at the drums. Maybe lots of drums. Well, not that many. Few little moments there. But the main groove is kind of the same all throughout. So if I were just to start from the beginning, and it kind of stays quite similar to now in the B section we're introducing a bit of a snare, and then we're adding more movement. We're gradually adding more movement as the song progresses. So in the second A, we're adding a bit more. Some percussion. And then for the outro, is even busier, I would say. Add the bass. And maybe some guitars. And then we have our kind of rhythm section in place, right? I wanted to thicken out the sound a little bit. So I have certain instruments play that role. Some of them are very, very straightforward. In the first half, at least, of the song, I have some very simple pad, just very straightforward pad, and then that kind of cuts out at the on the second half, the ending or the outro, and we kind of get to this weird number, which sounds like this. Which, in fact, you can barely hear it with other instruments. Actually, still plays a role. But I guess once we add some more stuff, it's all kind of drown in. So these are the pads, and then we have extra layers, and the extra layers are. Some of them play a bit more significant role. Some of them are a little bit more in the background to add a bit more chaos. So the first one is Wurlitzer. Just kind of following the chords. Nothing magical here. Then we have a fake choir. This is a free instrument from Labs. I wanted some more vocals, I guess. And if you had the whirly. And then we have a bit of cello. We have a bit of chaos here. String instruments. It's kind of going back and forth between left and right. And then we add pads, call that little weird device. We add the chords, the guitars, drums, and finally bass. And this is how I built the song. I didn't want it to be particularly over polished. I didn't overthink it too much. I just allowed my intuition just to kind of take control. And to be honest, I didn't. The song is fairly recent creation, I guess. But for the most part, I do not remember recording most of this. What I forgot to mention was that the name of the song is Naked Among Dressed, the metaphor of which I'm not gonna explain at this point anymore. And it's already out there on my channel, so you can check it in its full glory. And that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.